Hey, thanks for joining me. So, lenses of 40 millimeter focal length or 40 millimeter equivalent have become all the rage in the last few years. And yet, for micro four thirds shooters, a 40 millimeter equivalent lens is something we've been using for quite a while. Many of us have anyway. It's really not that new of a thing. And many of you are aware I shoot this Panasonic 20 millimeter f1.7. Fantastic lens. I've been using it for a long time. And I find it interesting that the whole rest of the world all of a sudden discovered a 40 millimeter focal length lens. I don't know. I know a lot of micro four thirds shooters have used this lens. It was introduced in 2009. It's been around a long time. In 2013, a newer version of it was introduced. From what I understand, optically, they didn't really change it. The lens is super compact. It's just a little over an inch thick. Uses a 46 millimeter filter. Like I say, it's 20 millimeter focal length, which is equivalent to 40 millimeter on full frame. And it's a lens that I just use constantly. And for those of you that have watched my channel much, you know that this lens lives on my EP5. I just use it everywhere, and it I don't know, it's just been a great lens. Like I say, the image quality in it is just superb. When I first started getting into micro four thirds and started reading about the lenses and looking at lens tests and stuff like that, one of the things I discovered is that all the reviews on this lens just extolled its image qualities. It's just super sharp, super, for a lens that's this compact. Relatively fast at f1.7, stops down to f16. There's 7 elements in 5 groups. And I decided early on that it was going to be the lens that just stayed with this EP5. Now, I do occasionally use other lenses on the EP5, don't get me wrong, but this 20 millimeter is the one that just lives on here. And it's really beautifully made. It's just a great pair with this. The only thing that I've ever read bad about the 20 millimeter is that at really high ISOs, you might have some banding issues. I think I've read that has something to do with the motor that controls the aperture. I don't know why that would cause banding. I don't know, but I've never experienced it. And I've never really shot super high ISO pictures with it, to be honest, because I just don't normally do that. I usually stop at around 1600. In fact, yesterday, part of my family was in town, and we went to some museums. And one of the museums that I'd really been wanting to go there is the American Banjo Museum. And you've probably seen a picture of the outside of it a time or two. But we went there, and I got to go inside. And I don't know if I've ever talked about it on my channel before, but one of my hobbies, the things I love doing is rescuing, I guess you might say. I don't really do full restorations necessarily, but rescuing vintage musical instruments. I love finding old musical instruments that are broken or need work and they're no longer playable, and I buy them and fix them up. And I love playing instruments too. I think I love working on them just about as much as I love playing them, though. And so I'm not really a big banjo player and never have played a 5-string, the traditional banjo. But my father and grandfather both played tenor guitar and tenor banjo. And I have a tenor banjo. It's a no-name department store, probably made in the 30s or 40s, that I, again, rescued, got it all playing. And I was kind of hoping at this museum to see if I could find some information about it. I didn't find that version of banjo anywhere in the museum, though they had a lot of banjos. Most of theirs are quite a bit fancier than mine. But I also have a couple of 1930s vintage Slingerland Maybell banjolailies, or banjo ukuleles. And I do play those, and they did have one of those, but that's one I already knew a lot about. But anyway, off topic. I took this camera. This is my out with the family, traveling, go to museums kind of outfit. I love this. And for museums, this lens is hard to beat. It's fast enough that, you don't have to go crazy with ISO to be able to take pictures, even in a fairly dim museum. It's got great image quality. It'll focus relatively close if you need it to. I never think to remember to bring a circular polarizer with me. I really should, because often you're photographing through glass showcases, and so you have to be kind of move around to try to minimize reflections sometimes, and sometimes you just can't avoid them. But Still, this lens is just an amazing lens. And the 20 millimeter focal length, like I say, for many micro four thirds shooters, we've known about this lens for years. It's a little weird to me that all of a sudden all the APS-C and full frame shooters are going, oh, the 40 millimeter focal length, it's so amazing. And I don't know, it's been last few years they've been doing that. And yeah, that's something I've always known. It's just a great focal length, kind of falls in between 35 and 50. Some would call it, maybe the best compromise of a one lens kind of outfit, and I would certainly agree with that on the CP5. If someone said you can only have one camera and one lens, you only get one, it'd probably be this setup right here. And maybe that wouldn't be the smartest choice, but it's a combination that I use a lot and really just love. So the EP5 with this 20 millimeter f1.7 Lumix lens. Anyway, not to make this very long at all, I took some pictures in the Banjo Museum. I want to show those to you so you can see the image quality from this lens. Keep in mind, I'm not a 5-string banjo player, and so a lot of the famous banjo players, Earl Scruggs and Steve Martin and all these guys, I appreciate what they do, and I love the music. My interest was more in tenor banjos and in the workmanship and the detail on some of the banjos, and I was blown away by the banjos that were in this museum. So I hope you'll enjoy looking at some of these, even if you're not a banjo player. I think you'll have to admit that some of these banjos are pretty amazing. And if you're ever in Oklahoma City, it's pretty inexpensive museum-wise to go to this place. It's like $8. I think it was $7 for seniors, and a family is like $15. It's really inexpensive. And they also have a once-a-month jam session and I think it's mainly ukulele-centered, but you can come with an instrument and you can sit in on a jam session. They also have, I think, Wednesday concerts at lunchtime. You bring a sack lunch, and you can listen to a number of their staff are very accomplished banjo players, and they have little concerts that they do during the week. I'm going to definitely have to try to come see some of those. But if you're ever in Oklahoma City, I highly recommend it. Let's take a look at some of these banjo pictures. Again, I didn't take many pictures of the information boards and stuff about the banjo players as much, because my real interest as a person that restores or rescues instruments and repairs them is more about, the instruments themselves and how they're made and the quality and the beauty of the workmanship. And so that's kind of where my pictures are centered. I did find, like I say, a similar Slingerland Maybell banjo ukulele in there that looks very similar to mine, and so that was kind of fun to see. I have something that's similar to what's in that museum. But anyway, let's take a look at some of these pictures, and we'll see what you think. Blue skies smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Bluebirds singing a song, nothing but bluebirds all day long. Never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right. Noticing the days hurrying by, when you're in love, my how they fly. Blue days, all of them gone, nothing but blue skies all day long. Blue days, all of them gone. Well, I hope you enjoyed seeing some of those banjo pictures. I it was one of my favorite museums I've ever been to. I just love musical instruments. It ranks right up there. So years ago, before I had this channel, I went to Nazareth, Pennsylvania for work, and that's the town where the Martin Guitar Factory is, and they have a museum, and they take you on a factory tour. Totally cool. If you're ever in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, and you want to see how guitars are made, I highly recommend that one too. Anyway, hope you enjoyed seeing some of those pictures. You know, if you're looking for that 20 millimeter lens for Micro Four Thirds, I know there are other 20 millimeters and some a little bit faster, all of them somewhat bigger. I can only say that you can find one of these very affordably these days. Like I say, there's a newer version. I think they've improved the autofocus because it's not that fast on this lens, but for what I do, the speed of autofocus really isn't an issue. If it is for you, then maybe a different lens is maybe in order. For a lot of what I do, this focus is plenty fast, and like I say, the newer version might be a tiny bit faster, but I know they're both the same optical formula as I understand it, and they both deliver just amazing image quality. Just a great lens to have. Anyway, if you have any thoughts or questions, please don't hesitate to leave me a comment. I always love hearing from you. And as always, thanks for watching. You ready to go home? Yeah? You ready to go home? Okay.